Hello and welcome to the 215th edition of the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast. Isolated in Nashville, Tennessee, I'm the professor, Matt Perkins, and a dig wrote across the Harpeth River in his quarantine bunker here in the Music City. It's our own offensive coordinator, the coach, Corey Burton.
I can dig that.
I can dig that too. Speaking of digs, you dig? Stefon Diggs to the Buffalo Bills, baby. Former Maryland great.
Yeah, you're excited. I know in the group chat though, you said you thought they gave up too much.
Well, I mean, the fact that you gave up more for Diggs than Arizona did for DeAndre Hopkins, when DeAndre Hopkins is, for my money, the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Well, did you see the details on all that? Like they were pretty much forced to take whatever they could get, or because basically Bill O'Brien, I just read a report and I heard Michael Irvin talk about it, that he brought up Aaron Hernandez in a meeting with DeAndre Hopkins, that, basically saying, the last time I had a meeting like this with a player, it was with Aaron Hernandez. And DeAndre Hopkins was like, what? I've never been in trouble. Yeah. So, the proverbial blankety blank was about to hit the fan. I think they just had to kind of cut bait, take what they could get just to get him out of town. So I wouldn't use that. I wouldn't be quick to use that as a barometer. I would be quick to say that Stefon Diggs is a absolute stud. He's going to go well with Devin Singletary. Josh Allen's finally got a top-tier target to throw to. But how about Tom Brady?
Tom Brady. Well, let's get the thoughts of the third amigo in the second city, a man who is using his quarantine time to learn French so he can listen to live renditions of Tintin on French streaming podcasts. It's our blogger from Big Ten Accounting, Josh Cook.
Yeah, so I know we normally do college football, but the sports world is obviously on standby for good reason, other than some NFL news, because you can call and sign free agents and stuff from the comfort of your home. But yeah, Tom Brady, 20 years and then out. It'll be interesting. I don't think he's looked half as good as he was 4 or 5 years ago, these last 3 seasons. I don't think the Bucs are getting much. For the Patriot perspective, there was no way in the world to trade him. So
because his contract was up, you can't trade him. So.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean. So, but I'm saying they couldn't have traded him like last year, the year before.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not. But on the Bucs end, they no longer will have the 30-30 man.
Well, I was going to say, I do know this, that the Bucs have drastically cut down their turnovers next year.
Well, I was going to say, so last year, Jameis Winston threw, I think, 7 pick sixes, an NFL record. Tom Brady has thrown 6 pick sixes in the last 10 seasons.
His last pass as a Patriot
was a pick six to Logan Ryan of the Tennessee Titans.
And the last pass of Jameis Winston's career as a Buck was also
a pick six.
You guessed it, a pick six. Yes.
In overtime for both of them.
Yes.
So I think that's going to do it for our NFL free agency
recap. Wait a minute. The Bears made a trade too this afternoon. The Bears traded for Nick Foles.
Yeah, they're replacing crap with mediocrity. Let's move on.
Tell me how you really feel.
Right.
I'm not even a Bears fan. I just live here. I have to hear this crap on the radio all the time.
I figured.
Yay! The Bears are gonna go from 8-8 to a different form of 8-8.
So were they even 8-8 last year?
I don't know.
I just assume they're 6-10 every year until I hear otherwise.
No, that was the Wannstedt era. Now they're in the new Jim Fox 8-8.
I'm sorry. The Lovie Smith era was the 9-7 era every year, and yeah. So, anyways, we're going to talk a little bit about college football here today. Obviously, with the global pandemic that is COVID-19, all of college football is shut down. All the universities are shut down and moving to online learning, which means obviously no spring ball. So let's talk a little bit to begin with, guys, about the importance of spring ball. And Coach, I want to start with you, especially because we see every year more and more guys enrolling early, graduating high school semester early so they can enroll in January and participate in spring ball. Coach, why is spring football so important, and what's going to be the fallout with having no spring ball this year?
Well, spring ball is important for a number of reasons, especially with the transient nature of coaching. It's a good way to get your new coaches acclimated with the university and with the players. For early enrollees, it's their chance to test out in about as low pressure of a situation as you can get for practicing football, to get used to practicing and balancing school and kind of getting that in-season feel. So for early enrollees, it gives them a leg up from the freshmen that come in June, because they learn the system. They learn, the most important thing is they learn how to have life as a student athlete. So that's probably the biggest thing they gain during spring practice. For quarterbacks, it just gives them reps with their receivers. Linemen gives them extra time to be in the weight room, things like that, to kind of acclimate to the blocking schemes and the coaching styles of your typical O-line coaches. For defensive guys, it just gives them more tackling instruction, because fundamentals are very, 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 very much a big deal in spring. I know at the University of Georgia, it gives them a big game atmosphere in the spring game. So places like probably like Alabama, Georgia, Florida.
Ohio
I don't know
State,
about Ohio
Michigan,
State,
all those schools will have. I mean, I know Ohio State a couple of years ago had set the record for spring game attendance, like 107,000 people.
Yeah, it's crazy. It gives them that big game atmosphere, but not that big game pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's definitely definitely a big chore right now. Josh, you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I think the other thing with spring football is it really lets some teams know position battles and how they're going to look. You get first look at guys, and I know this is kind of a dated reference, but it's thinking about almost 20 years ago now with Iowa football. 2001, they win the Alamo Bowl, their first bowl game under Ferentz, and they had a senior quarterback graduate in Kyle McCann, and the rest of the roster, kind of an unknown. You had Brad Banks, who attempted a few passes as a backup in that season. And then in the offseason, Nathan Chandler comes in, who is a junior and would replace Banks after his 1 year as a starter. But Banks shined all through spring football and summer football and got the starting gig. And the rest is history for that magical 2002 season. And there's countless stories from literally every program experiences that, where they have an unknown and someone just emerges all through the spring, and by the end of the summer you're like, okay, that's a no-brainer. So if we don't have spring football, I think we might see a little bit more roster upheaval in that your opening day starter, if doesn't look so hot after 2 or 3 games, might get yanked, and that could make for a very interesting football season.
I think it's definitely going to make for a very interesting football season, especially, the fact that they won't have those reps, and who knows when they'll even be able to go back to school. Who's to say things will even start on time in the fall? I mean, because there are just so many unknowns that we have right now in the world and around college football. So, obviously I'm sad that there'll be no spring football for any of these schools, because it's always fun to get the reports from camp, what position battles are popping up, who looks good, what freshmen who redshirted last year have, put on a lot of, strength or muscle or gotten faster and are going to be competing for starting spots around the country. And I really do feel bad for especially some of these kids who decide to, really make the effort, go ahead and graduate high school early. They're on their college campus for maybe 2 months. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, you're going to have to either go home or get the F out of here. And, it's tough. It's really tough for a lot of them. And, you just don't get that time with, especially quarterbacks and receivers getting in rhythm, things like that. It's going to put even more of an onus on fall camp, assuming we even have fall camps. and that we're completely, hopefully, past our current epidemic. Fortunately for those of us who cannot get enough college football news, there is still, recruiting going on in some way, shape, or form, albeit more remotely. This is typically the time where we see a lot of juniors, rising seniors taking some of their official visits. But we're still getting a couple commitments every day, it seems like, Coach. I know Wisconsin just pulled a linebacker out of Florida who looks pretty good. But it's just thrown a monkey wrench into the entire landscape of life. So I guess I should ask, how are you guys holding up? Coach, you were just down in Atlanta visiting your mom.
Yeah, I'm holding up pretty good. Like I said, just rolled in here shortly before we cranked it up, and I'm doing good.
Good.
Well, I'm happy to report some late breaking news, Matt. You're talking about spring football being canceled. University of Arkansas taking proactive steps. They're also canceling fall football.
See, I thought they did that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're prepared for this.
All the Arkansas fans are like, "Oh, come on!" even an off-season show where we have nothing to talk about. How am I doing? I'm doing fine. So I'm, as most of you probably are well aware, I am a high school teacher here in Chicago, and our schools were shut down. My school, I'm at a private school, we were shut down Friday afternoon, we decided, and switched to e-learning. So I'm just grading stuff, posting stuff, and adapting, and it's working out all right.
Yeah, we're all having to adapt to this new reality. So, but because we're all, because the entire world is now working from home, that means more time for us to produce content. So
that's right.
And expect a legal motion to venture outside of the college football realm in the weeks and months to come, because we're here for you guys while you guys are all cooped up in your houses, hopefully not coming into contact with too many other human beings. Anyway, guys, I want to know, what else is on your mind right now, Josh?
In context of sports,
of life,
or
context
life?
of life, like what what's going on? What's going on, man?
Well, I know we're not a political show, but Illinois had our primary elections yesterday, and in local news, this real asshat, Dan Lipinski, has been in Congress for 16 years. He's a Democrat. His dad used the old Chicago Daily Democrat machine to get into office, and then so did Dan Lipinski. But he is he's a Democrat in order to get elected from Chicago suburbs. He voted against Obamacare. He was the only Illinois Democrat to vote against Obamacare. He does not support Medicare for all, obviously, right now. He does not support pro-choice. He was against LGBTQ marriage equality and says he is fine with the status quo, but still personally doesn't believe in it. And he lost. He lost to a young female politician. So for those of you not familiar with Illinois politics, basically in the city of Chicago, the Democrat primary election is the election. So in November, the person who won the primary, she's going to win the district easily. And so Marie Newman will be a new congressional rep for, I don't know, Matt, is your wife's suburb Burr Ridge?
Yes.
Was that in Lipinski's district?
So. I believe so.
Yeah, so that was some interesting news. That was a fun development.
Yeah, down in DuPage County. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm gonna do a little pop quiz for you guys here. Since we are
Josh, are you gonna grade these?
Oh God, no.
Today is the 18th of March. There are 9 players since 1956 who have had more than 1,800 receiving yards in a season. Can you name those 9 players? And I'm just going to throw this out. You don't even have to rotate. Just throw out some names.
Did you say 1,800?
Yeah, 1,800 receiving yards in a single year.
Okay. Randy Moss.
Yep, 1,820 yards back in 1997.
You just took mine. How about I'm now forgetting if he played at Hawaii or Massachusetts, but Andy Isabella.
Isabella played at
UMass.
At UMass.
There's also a Hawaii kid with a bunch of receiving yards the same year.
No, he had 1,698 yards. 1,698 yards back 2 years ago, 2018.
Well, recount it.
Coach.
So we're down to 8, right? Tim Brown.
Tim Brown, back when he won the Heisman. Sorry, he did not. He did not crack the top 100 of all time in a single season.
Wow.
Are you going all the way down to Mississippi Delta Valley State stats? Can I say Jerry Reed or Jerry Rice?
Well, Jerry Reed definitely not.
Jerry Reed's a country music star.
Is he really? I don't know.
He did the song. He did the theme song to Smokey and the Bandit, Eastbound and Down. Eastbound and Down, loaded up and trucking.
No, we're not doing FCS, and
is it D1?
Depending on the day, Jerry Reed probably would tell you that he's received yards. But so is it my turn?
Yeah.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh, Fitzgerald. That's a good guess, but his high was 1,672 back in 2003.
Sweet.
Josh.
I'm thinking. So 1,800 receiving.
It's a lot of yards. The top in college football last year was Jamar Chase, who had 1,780 for LSU, and that took 15 games to get there. So this is a lot of yards. So we had Randy Moss in the 90s. There are 2 other players in the 90s who also accomplished this feat. The rest have taken place in the 2000s.
The rest were in the 2000s.
So it's not Fred Biletnikoff.
No, not Fred Biletnikoff. Unfortunately. There was we almost had Howard Twilley from Tulsa in 1965 had 1,779 yards, which is absolutely ridiculous for 1965. But no, there is. I think there's only one big name that you guys should be embarrassed that you don't have yet.
I think the 2000s person has to come from an air raid offense, and I think it has to be Michael Crabtree.
Yeah, number 3 all time, 1,962 yards in 2007. That was the big one I was hoping you would get.
Yeah, if it wasn't Crabtree, I was going to say the league's highest paid wide receiver right now for the Atlanta Falcons. His name is Julio Jones.
Julio Jones, nope, never hit top 100. Different Jones, Zay Jones, our old friend from East Carolina, hit 1,746 in 2016, falling just short. One more that you might, I'll give you a hint. Early 2010s from Baylor. Anyone remember any of those receivers?
I just remember RG3 running around. I don't remember who he was passing to.
One of the guys.
Corey Coleman.
Ooh, nope. Good guess. Terrence Williams is who we're looking for. Terrence Williams. But the rest of these, I doubt you will get them. Number 1 all time, Trevor Inslee from Nevada. Only person to ever crack 2,000 receiving yards in a season back in 99. Troy Edwards from Louisiana Tech in 98 had 1,996. We talked about Michael Crabtree. Jordan White from Western Michigan, 1,911. Greg Salas from Hawaii in 2010 had 1,889. Alex Van Dyke from Nevada in 95 had 1,854. We'd mentioned Terrence Williams and Randy Moss. And finally, Trent Taylor from Louisiana Tech.
Oh,
How-
2016.
How come outside Randy Moss, none of those guys did anything in
Trent
the
Taylor's doing pretty
NFL?
well for the 49ers.
Crabtree's been okay.
All right, so we got 2 OKs and Randy
Yeah,
Moss.
We've got 2 OKs and Randy Moss out of a couple of those guys. But
I feel like if we were to look at the single season rushing records, we'd see more success.
would we now?
Maybe.
Well, let's find out then.
They were talking about some guys who rushed.
Fitz never did it.
No, Fitz never did it. So yeah, let's look at the.
I blame Walt Harris.
Well, let's look at those two. Yeah, if we look at just the top 10 of rushing season records and for rushing yards, Barry Sanders, check. Melvin Gordon, who's had a decent career so far. Kevin Smith from Central Florida.
Speaking of Melvin,
not so much. Marcus Allen, yeah, he was okay.
Yeah, he's okay.
Rashad Penny,
bust.
Derrick Henry,
yes.
Freight train. Jonathan Taylor, about to enter the league.
Mm-hmm.
Troy Davis from Iowa State, one of the few players to ever go 2,000 multiple seasons.
Wait. I want to rewind just real quick. Coach said bust to Rashard Penny. He was having a really good year with Seattle till he hurt his knee.
Yeah, no, he's
fine.
He's got time.
He'll emerge.
Andre Williams from Boston College.
Bust.
And finally, LaDainian Tomlinson, not a bust.
Not a bust.
So how many was that? I lost count, but it sounded like
out of 10 we had, Barry Sanders, Marcus Allen, LaDainian Tomlinson, all Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Plus Melvin Gordon, Rashad Penny, Derrick Henry, all very more than serviceable NFL backs, and Jonathan Taylor, who hasn't even entered the NFL yet. So
that's interesting then. So we've got why do wide receivers not pan out?
That's a good question. I would assume it's because of scheme, because you don't see air raid as much in the NFL.
Yeah.
And because you have so much like the corner, like the jump from college D-backs to pro D-backs is massive. And the fact that the NFL in college, because the hashes are so much wider than they are in the NFL, you can really exploit that much more so than you can in more of a pro style system. I also think that if it's a lot easier to feed a receiver the ball in college than it is in the NFL. I don't know, Coach, what do you think?
I think so too. I think the coverage is tighter. Quarterbacks have less time. Everyone's just as good as you are. Making the team is even just tough enough. There's a lot of factors.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Yeah, I see that for sure.
Well, and also because the NFL up until the last couple of years has always been a much more run-oriented game than college. At least in the last 20 years.
Yeah. Now it's not. But I'm not shocked that a lot of your D1 passing leaders are like mid-major school guys that just blew up in college, and maybe a few of them made practice squads, maybe a few of them were low-level receivers for a franchise for a couple of years before they got cut, special teams grinders, things like that. But it's just tough, man. The league is tough. People don't realize, just because you produce in college does not mean you can produce in the league. There's just no barometer. It's all about opportunity, chances, and then, developing.
Yeah, the correlation isn't quite there. It is not quite there. But
speaking of correlation,
yeah,
this Tom Brady in a Bucs uniform just looks weird.
Well, to be fair, the current Bucs uniforms make everyone look weird.
That's true.
Yeah, they need to go back to the creamsicles. We know that. Speaking of jerseys, if you guys are looking for something to do while you are quarantined here at your houses, head back in the archives. Look back about 3 years ago. You will notice we have a nice long string breaking down the uniforms from all of the conferences in FBS football.
Do we want to update a few of the entries?
We might have to.
Because people, I think some schools listen to our podcast and they immediately switched uniforms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I remember correctly, I think we determined that Auburn had the best jerseys in the SEC, at least. Right, Josh?
that still holds true.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what did we determine the Big Ten was? Iowa?
Oh, no, my guess is we either did Ohio State or Michigan or Penn State.
I don't know about that.
Someone will listen to the tape and let us know.
I think Clemson won the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Well, Georgia Tech has since improved. That takes definitely a lot in me to say. They switched from Russell to Adidas, and I thought Adidas has done a good job with their uniforms.
Switching from Russell to Adidas is like going from Skechers to New Balance.
True. Speaking of New Balance, Central Michigan. What are they up to?
That's a darn good question. What are they up to? But no, I was going to say one thing. I think new atop our power rankings after this season might be those SMU uniforms with the Dallas. The Dallas SMU uniforms are our choice.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely choice.
Yes.
So, but yeah, we've got the NFL draft coming up. Are there any guys, Coach, that you are particularly excited to see where they go outside of your dogs?
I'm curious to see where Tua kind of falls with all these quarterbacks moving around. I'm curious to see where Jonathan Taylor ends up. It's all going to depend on these next two dominoes of running backs with Carlos Hyde and Melvin Gordon, not in that order particularly. I'm interested to see who takes Chase Young. I'm interested to see, with Gardner Minshew now the starter in Jacksonville, do they stick with that, or do they try to trade up and get a quarterback, or they try to get, Justin Hebert? Who does what?
Yeah.
What are the Chargers going to do?
It's going to be interesting to see what quarterbacks end up going where. We all know Joe Burrow is going to Cincinnati. That's pretty much a done deal.
Yeah,
but, does Tua end up in Miami or Detroit, or is there another suitor that we're not even thinking about at this point for him?
I mean, you think maybe the Chargers, they might trade up to get into that market. I wouldn't be surprised if they were bullish in the trade market to get up and get one of these quarterbacks. Detroit needs so I'm looking at a mock draft right now. It has him getting Isaiah Simmons, who, if you haven't seen his, he ran, I think, a 4.58 in the 40, and he's a linebacker.
4.38.
Oh, 4.38. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Chase Young to the Redskins, that would be huge for them. That would be great. I think New York needs offensive line. Mekhi Becton from Louisville. He's kind of the, get this, 6'7", 365 pounds.
And he can move too.
He can move, yeah.
He can move.
I'm looking at this and seeing that most of these teams are actually addressing needs that they have. I'm kind of surprised CeeDee Lamb is going ahead of Jerry Jeudy. I kind of think Judy's more explosive and kind of more of a vertical threat than CeeDee Lamb.
I actually think that actually Henry Ruggs is the guy I would be most interested in. That guy is a physical freak.
Yes, he is. But it has Jacksonville getting CeeDee Lamb, which would be a great pickup there. Derek Brown wreaked so much havoc on Auburn's defensive line, got him going to San Francisco. That would be a great pickup for them. Henry Ruggs they got him going 15th to Denver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm interested in a couple guys probably way lower down the board. I'm excited to see who gets Lynn Bowden Jr. and what they do with him. Because we know last year Lynn Bowden Jr. led Kentucky in passing, rushing, and receiving. And which is which is ridiculous on the face of it, but whoever gets him is getting a unique weapon, and there are many different ways to deploy someone like him. But I'm very excited to see what happens with him. Are there any other guys like that under the radar, Josh, that you're interested in seeing what happens to them?
Sort of. So when I was thinking about this question, most people know I don't give two hoots about the NFL. I don't watch it. I don't care about the draft. I basically hope for players I like to do well, specifically Iowa players. But what I always like is the how did this guy drop so far? So who's going to get the Aaron Rodgers award? And then who's going to get the, what is this team doing? The Daniels award from last year with the G-Men taking a Duke quarterback. What a weird thing to say.
Daniel Jones. Yeah.
So I'm curious who rises really far, who falls really far. I have seen probably a similar mock to what Coach was seeing. I'm looking at the CBS one now.
This is the exact one I'm looking at.
And I noticed that they have the Finns getting potentially, or looking at potentially, AJ Epinesa with the 18th pick and Tua Tagovailoa up there with the 5th pick. And I'm trying to think of a faster rebuild than that. The Finns are a little frisky. Everyone thought they were going to go 0-16. They showed some fight. I thought they played fairly well for Flores based on the limited stuff I follow with the NFL. We've already talked about the upheaval with New England. So it seems like Buffalo probably has the strongest foundation. Is there a chance Miami finishes second? And then probably the Patriots third, and then the Jets never know what in the world.
Yeah, it's the Jets. What do you expect?
I see the Patriots getting Jordan Love.
That seems like a Patriots type of guy, but I'd be a little concerned, man. He led the nation in interceptions last year. He threw 17 picks.
Do you know who his coach was?
Well, unfortunately, yes, because he was my coach for 2 years. And
he gets the Gary Anderson pass.
I'm very surprised though that
Miami has 3 first-rounders, by the way.
Yeah.
They have getting DeAndre Swift with pick 26.
I'm very surprised that I don't see Nate Stanley in the top 10 or the first round at all.
Well, that brings me to the next question for you two, a Georgia fan and an Iowa fan. Who gets drafted first, Jake Fromm or Nate Stanley? Because according to Mel Kiper Jr., they are his number 7 and 8 or number 8 and 9 quarterbacks on the board.
I think Fromm, just because I guess they feel like mentally he's got an edge over Nate Stanley.
Because I think Stanley's definitely the better athlete.
Stanley's the better athlete. I think Fromm is the better mental quarterback. So it just depends on who needs what and where.
I think it's going to be Stanley. He's the better athlete. He's bigger. He's got a stronger arm. There's some megalomaniacal coach who's in the NFL who thinks that they can turn that raw talent into something special.
Yeah,
and probably about 32 megalomaniacal coaches
and
think that they can do that.
And Stanley seems like the type of guy that is going to be sort of a late riser because of those physical traits, and they will. If we're talking about, you have to pay the Gary Anderson tax on Jordan Love. Well, Josh, I mean, your offensive coordinator, you should have to take his stats with a giant grain of salt.
I mean, this is the best case scenario really for any quarterback, but there are shades of it with Stanley, and that is people looked at Tom Brady at college, and they're like, okay, he's got some size, he's got some arm talent. He kept losing his starting job. Lloyd Carr did not play him consistently, kept losing his starting job. Yeah, and Belichick gets him, doesn't start him until Bledsoe goes down, and then, match made in heaven, 20 years there. And you had a perfect coach untap a guy who had raw ability, but was just coached horribly in college. And there are some shades of that. Obviously, in 20 years down the line, if Nate Stanley has even one Super Bowl, that would be freaking phenomenal. And I'm not saying that, Stanley has the work ethic, because Tom Brady has the craziest work ethic I've really ever heard of any professional athlete having. So there's other intangibles that help Brady out. But in terms of the trajectory of their college career, you have two gifted physical blueprints that were underutilized by not very good college coaching. And so if Stanley gets to the right system with the right coach, the right GM, if he gets to a New England type NFL team versus a Houston Texan type NFL team, there's a chance that Stanley's gifts are unlocked because, you saw the arm strength when he would whiz a ball 50 yards down the field on a 25-yard out pattern.
Yeah, that'll happen. That'll happen. Yep. All right. Well, Coach, you got any other things you want to add here?
There's a report out there. Gardner Minshew was exposed to the coronavirus. Coronavirus is now in quarantine for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I heard a very similar joke with Chuck Norris.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's the same concept.
Yeah, I think a better joke for Gardner Minshew's look and it being Jacksonville would be Gardner Minshew tested positive for coronavirus. The coronavirus is responding very well to its herpes treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good Lord. Well, I think that's going to end it for us here today, guys. Anything you want to add here on the end, Josh?
No, just, stay safe. There's a reason we're doing this. It's called flattening the curve. It's not that the three of us in our 30s are going to have a terrible episode if we contract it, but it's, Coach just saw his mom. I might see my parents at some point.
My parents are slated to come to Nashville in a couple of weeks.
So it's not about us. It's about our older folks. It's about people that are immunocompromised. Maybe they're fighting cancer on chemo. They don't want to get it. Maybe it's someone in our life who has a newborn. So, it bounces around and around and around. And the other thing is, sounds like the research says it's most contagious when you first get it and have no symptoms. So, I could be sitting here stewing with COVID virus and not know it and go out to eat or pick up food and then infect everyone else. So that's why stay at home, flatten the curve. We know we're going to have a lot of sick people, but we don't want to overwhelm our healthcare professionals. So just please stay home. Enjoy podcasts at home. That's what I'm doing.
Yep.
Enjoy our podcast. But yeah, I echo every bit of what you said, Josh. It's not about us. It's about the more vulnerable, immunocompromised and elderly folks, such as my mom, who fits in both categories. So, I made sure to go to the grocery store as much as I could for her while I was there, and just do small things while I could before I got back.
Sanitize your entire body before you go in contact with her after you've gone to the grocery store.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And, take advantage of this time. Enjoy time with your family at home.
Enjoy time with us.
Enjoy time with us. My wife and I have committed to reading for an hour a day. It's been a while since I've actually had the time to read. So getting back into reading, I'm a big nonfiction person. So I just picked up Doris Kearns Goodwin's Team of Rivals, which I'm very excited about reading. But or spend time learning a new skill, new talent. At this point in civilization, we have more and more different ways to learn things online. I'm picking my guitar back up again, so try to make the most of this. It does kind of stink that we're not able to go out and do big group things and all of that. So just try to use this time to work on yourself, work on improving yourself and your relationships with those around you. And if you haven't talked to anyone for a while, give them a call. I've been trying to call old friends and talk to them and catch up, and because I know that everyone else is sitting around their house trying to juggle work from home with everything else. So all of you out there across the world, please stay safe, and we will be back next week with another show that may or may not have anything to do with college football. So for now, on behalf of our own offensive coordinator, the coach, Corey Burton, here in the Music City, and our intrepid blogger from Big Ten and Counting, Josh Cook, up there in the Windy City, this is the Professor in Nashville saying so long and see you next time on the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast.
Watch your hands, fools.
Thanks for listening to the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast. To get in touch with the show, email us at illegalmotionpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at illegal_motion and check out our Facebook page.